Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Today we will continue our class for the chapter 8, which is controls statements. Okay, right. Okay, so the objective of this chapter is to introduce the concepts of program controls in C++. Okay, and then for the learning outcomes, there are two learning outcomes. First, know how the flow of the program can be controlled, and second, student can implement the selections and iteration control in the programming. All right. Okay. For the outlines, these are the outlines for the chapter. Again, which is we will start with the introduction, and then we will go for the selections control, which are if, and then switch case, and then conditional expression. And then for the third one will be the repetition control. So we will go for the while loop, for, and then do while. Okay, right. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. Okay, so we know that C++ is program that execute in a sequence. Okay, so control statements used to control the program execution sequence. And there are two types of control, which are selection control and repetition control. Okay, so we will go through these two types, and then in this slide, in this chapter. Okay. Okay, now let's go for the selection control. Okay, so this selection control is also known as conditional statement. Okay, and it allows us to control whether a program segment is executed or not. Okay, and then there are two constructs. Okay, which is first is if statement, and then second is switch statement. Okay, all right. For the if statement, okay, so we have only single if. Okay, all right. So which means that we are having an expression and a statement. Okay, we'll go through in this for this statement after this, and then if we want to go more than one statement, or more than one statement, we we can use if else or if else if. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the single if statement. Okay, and then you can see the syntax. First, we have if, and then the condition uh, for that can be met, so that this statement can be go through, and then after that it has action. Okay, okay, let's see the explanation of the condition. Okay, so if the condition is true, okay, then we will execute the action. Okay, and then meanwhile for the action, it is either a single statement or a group of statements within braces. Okay, so I believe that all of you have done this example in lab session. Okay, and then on your right hand side is the what we call the flow chart of the single if. Okay, so we have the condition. All right, and then it is connected into two section, which is for true it will go for the action, and then if false it will bypass for the action, and then will straight away to the section after the action. Okay, right. Okay, good. Now we will go through an example of a single if. Okay, but for this example, we'll go through if the case is true. All right. Okay, so I want you to focus on both sides, which is on the code side and also on the flowchart side. Okay. Okay, we'll start with, let's say we float API. Okay, API means air pollutant index. Okay, so first we'll go for that. So we make it float, and then on your right hand side you can say I see that. Okay, we declare the API. Okay, so then we'll go for the next step. So for the next step is we are asking, okay, for the API index in your city. All right, so if we go on the next step, so you see also the output, we are asking the input for the API index. All right. And then let's say that your input the API index is 115. Okay. All right. So in this in this if statement, you can see that if the API value is more than 100, okay, the output will be the air is unhealthy. Okay. All right. And then there's also another output which is keep beware of the haze. Okay. All right. So and then try to compare with the flowchart. Okay. Let's say we input 115. Okay. So which it satisfy the if statement, which is true. All right, because 115 is higher than 100. Okay. So then after this statement, because it's satisfied, so it will be true. Okay. So it will be display the first info, which is yep, the air is unhealthy. Okay. You see the output on the black box, and you can see how the flow works on the flow chart on your right hand side. Okay. And then after we go for that, the next flow is we display another info, which is keep beware of the haze. Okay. And then see uh, uh, in the flowchart, they will go for the next flow, which is keep beware of the haze. And then you can see in the what we call result box on the black box. Okay, you can see the output. All right. Okay. On the next slide, we will go for the single case, but for the case of false. Okay, we will see how it works. All right. Okay. So what happened for the single case of if when the case is false? Okay, again we use the same example for the API, which is air pollutant index. Same example and then same flowchart, but different case, which is for this time the case is false. All right. So again we have condition which is API more than 100. Okay, so that's the case. All right. So for the first one, we declare the API, which is float. So and we go for the second line. So we ask the user to enter the air pollutant index in your city. Okay. So air pollutant index is API, and then we have to key in the API. So let's say the API value in the user is lower than 100. So they key in, for example, they key in 89. Okay. So here 89 value is false, which is below than 100. Okay, so let's see what happens if they go to the if statement. All right. So since the value is lower, so it does not meet with the condition. Okay. So the air is unhealthy statement will not go out because it's false. Okay. See on the flowchart how it works. Okay. So it false, and then they go straight away to the second statement, which is keep beware of the haze. Okay. So they bypass the first display info. All right. So this is how the single if works. Okay. Okay, now let's go on the second example of the single if for the case of true. Okay, so I want you guys to focus on the code line and then the output that will shown or given in the box, in the black box. Okay, okay. So first, for this one, if you can see, it is about marks. Okay, so the condition is if you have marks more than 80, you will get excellent and congratulations. If not, will not these two statements will not go out. Okay, but for the statement of keep work hard, both of them will appear whether the case is true or not. Okay. Okay, so first of all, we start with the mark. Okay, we ask for the mark. Okay, we set mark as the integer. Okay, so we go for the first line. So we define mark, okay, as an integer. Then we will go out asking for the mark, which is for the second line. We're asking for the marks, and then the user need to key in the mark value. Okay, let's say they set the mark as 66. All right. So in this case, we see that sorry, not 66 and 96. Okay, So in this case, we see that 96 is larger than 80. So this value meet with the if condition. Okay. All right. So after we key in the 96 value, okay. All right. So we go for the following line, which is the if statement. Okay. So we know that 96 is larger than 80. So it meets the condition and it will display these two statements, which is category excellent and then congratulations. Okay. After that, they will go for the following statement, which is keep work hard. Okay. All right. So for the next slide, we'll go for the again single if, same example, but what happens if the case is false? Okay. How about again similar example, but the case is false. All right. So again, we define in a mark as an integer. All right. And then we asking mark. All right. Okay. So when we ask mark, so in this part, user will need to key in their own mark. Let's say we set C in mark or key in mark. Okay, so for this time, let's say that user has marked 66, which is below than the if condition, which is it must be more than 80. All right. So if this is the case, okay, so if we go for the if statement, since this value does not meet the criteria of the if statement, okay, so the output will straight away go for the what we call the statement outside of the bracket, which is keep work hard. So the earlier statement, which is excellent and congratulations, will not be showing because this value does not uh, satisfy the criteria set, which is mark must be more than 80. Okay, so this is how the single case for the case of false uh, happen. Okay, or go through the code. Okay, now for this slide, we'll continue with the if-else statement. Okay, for the if-else statement, okay, unlike if, there will be only one action. Let's say if the criteria is met, the condition is met, so there will be only one action. But for the if-else, there will be two actions. I mean, what happens if it matches, and then what happens if it will not match the condition? Okay, so you can see that on your right hand side, there's a flow chart of how if else statement work. Okay, first we have condition, and then now we have two branch. On your left hand side is true, and then on your right hand side is false. Okay, so if it's true, it will go for the action A. Okay, and then if it's false, it will go on action B. And then after they going through for action A and B, then they will go for the following step. Okay, all right. So the syntax can be written like on your left hand side, which is if, okay, open bracket, condition, close bracket, and then after that action A. Okay, and else action B. Okay, all right. So the explanation is if the condition is true, then the program will execute the action A, while if it's not true or else it's not true, it will execute the action B. Okay, so we'll see some example code on this if else statement. Okay, now we will go for the if else example. Okay, so for this example, we are trying to find a bigger number between two integers. All right. Okay, for this example, you can see the code on your left hand side and the flowchart on your right hand side. All right. Okay, since we are finding the bigger number between integers, so we have to define what is integer that will key in. Okay, so in this case, the minimum number of integers must be at least 2 for the comparison purposes. Okay, so we are defining value 1 and value 2 as the integer, and then we are also defining larger, okay, for comparison. All right, And then, okay, so for the following lines, so we can see that the cout entered two integers. All right, so value user need to key in values that they have set. Let's say for this example, only two values are needed. So the user will define or will key in the value one and the value two number. Okay, and then if, so we'll go for the if statement. If the value 1 is bigger than value 2, so we define that larger is equal to value 1. Okay, so if value 1 is bigger than value 2, so automatic, based on this statement, value 1 will be larger. Else, or if statement is not true, okay, we'll go for the else. Automatically, the value 2 will be the larger. Okay, and then you can write the output. The larger input is larger, just larger, because at this stage we are assuming that we don't know which one is bigger, value 1 or value 2. So we just set as larger for the value. So this can be value 1 or this can be value 2, depending on which what is integers that are key in by the users. Okay, for the flow chart, you can see that, so we have the operation box, which is value 1 is bigger than value 2. Okay, so for the, if it's true, okay, so we set larger is equal to value 1, but if it false, larger will equal to value 2. And then from both branch, we will print what is the larger value. Okay, so this is how the if else statement works. All right. Okay, now we will go for another if else example. All right. So for this example, we are asking the user to give input whether the calculation will need to do in Fahrenheit or in degree Celsius. All right. Okay. So you have the flow chart on your right hand side, and also you have the code on the left hand side. Okay. So the input here will be selection. So to choose whether it's Celsius or degree, and then you also have float of Celsius value or Fahrenheit value. All right. So if you see this, the code, okay, first the code is asking whether you want to select the Celsius to Fahrenheit or the Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay. Okay. So if you choose to calculate the Celsius to Fahrenheit, you have to choose number one. Or if you want to choose the Fahrenheit to Celsius, you have to choose number two. So the selection will be 1 or 2. Okay. So once the user run this program, so the user need to key in the selection where the number is 1 or 2. Okay. So you can see that if the selection is equal to 1, okay, which is double equal to 1, it means that we are asking whether the comparison here. So if the action is equal to 1, okay, so we'll go for the action A, okay, which is we ask the user want to choose the option of changing doing the calculation from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, so then if go to the action one, because let's say the user choose number one. Okay, so the user need to enter again the value of Celsius. All right, so in order to calculate or to change from Celsius to degree, okay, they have equation there, which is Fahrenheit is equal to Celsius plus 32 divided by 1.8. All right, and then there will be output there, which is Cout Celsius is equal to the Fahrenheit value. Okay, all right. So that the action for number one. If the condition is met, which is selection is equal to 1. However, if the user choose number 2, which is not met with the condition, which is the selection is not equal to 1. All right. So they will go to the action number 2, which is for this part. Okay. The user will be asked to enter the Fahrenheit value. All right. And then the calculation from Fahrenheit to Celsius will be Celsius is equal to Fahrenheit value, which this value is key in by the user. Okay, and then minus by 32 and then divided by 1.8. Okay, so this calculation is just nothing, just a fixed one, and then the output will be Fahrenheit is equal to minus Celsius. All right, so this is equal to action B. Okay, so you can see that from the flow chart. Again, you have the selection, which is the condition, which is selection is equal to 1. And then for the true, you'll go to the action A, okay, which is from Celsius to Fahrenheit. But if it falls, it will be go to the action B, which is to change from Fahrenheit to Celsius. And then finally, the output will be the next following step that anything. I mean, it can be anything that is set by the programmer. All right. All right. So now we will continue with the if else if statement. Okay. Okay. What is the difference between this statement and the previous statement, which is if else? Okay. So if you remember, for the previous one, which is if else or if statement, they have only one condition. Okay. So if they met that condition, they will do action A. I mean, this is for the if else. And if they didn't meet the condition, they will do the action B, which is they will rely only on one condition. And what happens if you have more than one condition? Okay, so if you have more than one condition, 2, 3, and more, you can use this statement, which is if else if statement. Okay, okay, let's see an example from this slide. Okay, you can see that from this example, we use if else statement for 3 conditions. Okay, okay, you can see this is a flow chart for the statement, and then this is the syntax for the if else if statement. All right, so let's say you have one condition. Okay, I say that it's condition 1. Okay, if it exists, you will do q. All right, okay, and then how about the flow chart? Again, you can say if this is the condition 1, if it exists or true, you will do the q. Okay, all right, this one is similar. But let's say if it falls, which is the condition did not meet. Okay, so else if suggesting that going to condition 2. Okay, again in the flowchart you can see that if it's false, they will go for the second condition. And then for the second condition, if it's true, okay, they will go to R, which is the output will be R. And in this case, the output will be R. All right. And what happens if it's false, which is again the condition was not met by this condition, which is by the second condition. Then they will go for the third condition. All right. So this is the third condition. Okay. So again, there will be comparison here in this condition box. So if it's true, they will do the S. Okay. So here you can see it's going to S. But if it's false, they will go to T, which is else, means that this is if it's not met, then we go to T, which is same to here. Okay, and then they close that with bracket. So this is the curly bracket. Okay, so every if else there will be like open and close bracket, open close bracket. All right. See, this is open and then close. Again, this one will be open and close, open and close bracket. And then this one can be more than 3 actually. So hopefully you can see quite clear on how we arrange the if else if statement. Okay. All right. Now we will go for an example of the people and apples. Okay. It's quite good combination. Okay. All right. So for the example of if else if statement, all right. So for this one, we have for this example we have two conditions. Okay, which is T1, which is or condition 1, and condition 2. All right. And then the output will be 3. All right, so the output 1, A1, output A2, and output A3. All right, so we see how the system works. All right, so for this one, since we are evaluating the number of people, number of apples, and the difference, so we put the people, apples, and different variables as integer. All right. So because this is just number without decimal. Okay, you cannot say 2.5 people. All right. So it's not right. Okay. All right. So and then we start with this line. Okay. We say that how many people do you have? All right. So for if we're doing we run this code, this center will go out asking like how many people that we have. So we will have to key in the number of people. It can be anything. And then again, they will go for this line of statement. It will ask you how many apples that you have. All right. And then again, the user can key in the number of apples. All right. Okay, so let's see the if else if statement. All right. So if for the first condition, if the number of apples is equal to the number of people. Okay. So this is the statement T1 or statement 1, the condition 1. All right. So which is this one. All right. Okay. So if the apple is equal to 1, all right. So the output that we want to say is everybody gets one apple. Okay, this is the output 1, which is if it's true, if this condition is met, which is apple is equal to people. So output 1. Okay, all right. So you can see that if it's true, this is the output 1. But let's say the number of apples is not equal to the number of people. What happen? What will happen? All right. So we'll go for the condition number 2. Okay. For this case, we put else if the apples is more than number of people. All right. So you see, apples is bigger than people. So this is condition number 2. So this is condition number 2. Because if it's false, we go for the second condition. So what we have to do, I mean, the programmer say that, okay, so they have difference, which is apples minus people. Okay, this is output number 2. Okay, so the output for number 2, let's say if apples is more than people, okay, so everybody gets one apple and there are difference, which is number of apples coming from here. All right. So it's saying that for this output, if this condition is met, so the program will calculate the difference between the apples and people, and then after that they will print out this statement, okay, which is everybody can get one apple, and then there are number of apples that are extra, okay, because this one coming from this equation. So if it's true, all right, and how about if it's not true, which is number of apples are less than number of people, okay, so then we write else, which is as opposite, as an opposite. Okay, so finally, okay, so again, because since this is the number of people is bigger than number of apples here for this condition, so the difference will be people minus by apples. Okay, so this is the output number 3, and then also there will be here by, okay, the difference, like how many apples that are less, more apples, so that everyone gets one apple. Okay, so if this condition is false, so we will go for the A3. So we will calculate the number of apples that are less than number of people, and then we said you have to buy that number of apples so that everyone can get the apples. Okay, so this is how the if else if statement works. All right. All right. So now we will go for the other statement, which is nested if statements. Okay, nested if statements. So the difference between this statement and previous if statements is that for this case, only the right or true condition will be processed. All right. So for this case, we have several if statement, and only true statement will be processed. And if it's false, it will not be processed and will go straight away for the output that we set. All right. So in this case, you see we have 3 conditions, which are condition 1 C1, condition 2 C2, and condition 3 C3. So So for this is the syntax, and then this is for the flow chart. So this is the C1, this is C2, and this is C3. All right. So uh, I also told you that previously. So if condition, it must be written inside the bracket. All right. So if you can see that for the condition, uh, uh, the outer condition of if, so the bracket is between here and here. All right. And for the second condition, the bracket will be here and here. And then condition 3 will be here and here. Okay, all right. So let's go for how it works. All right. So we go for the condition number 1 from here, from top straight to here. So if the condition number 1 is not met, which is false. Okay. So this is condition number 1. Okay. So the bracket is from here to here. Okay. So if it matches, it will go through inside the inside layer of this one. But if it's not met, which is false, so which is not met for false, so they will go for output D. So since we know that this is the bracket from here to here, so if it's met, they will go inside this one. But if it's not met, they will go to do D. Okay, so this output. All right. So let's say if it's true or match. Okay. So we'll go for the condition number 2. Okay, so we'll go for condition number 2. Okay, again, so condition number 2 is between this to this. All right, it means that if it met, they will process inside the bracket. If it's not met, they will process to outside of the bracket, which is C or sleep. Okay, so if it's false, the output will be do C. Let's say, for example, I don't know, it's sleep. But if it's met, they will go for the third condition, okay, which is condition number 3. Okay, so from here, if it's true, go to condition number 3. Okay, so again, for condition number 3, the bracket from here to here. So if it's true or met the condition, the output will be do A. If not, it will be do B. Okay, so for the condition number 3, so if it's true, like I said, they will go to do A, which is inside this bracket. And if it's false, okay, they will do the output will be outside the bracket, which is do B. If you can see from here, if it's true, do A, and if it's false, do B. All right. So this is how the nested if statements work. All right. Okay. Let's go for an example of the nested if statement. All right. So I have one example here. All right. So for this example, it's just that we are asking if the customer is a member for some association, because if it's a member, they will have some discount on the ticket based on the age, and if not, the entrance fee will be the full fee. All right. So this is how what we call the pseudocode, or maybe just the structure that we will look like. This is not the real pseudocode, but just how we structured that, right? So let's say we start with the if the customer is a member, right? So if it's a member, then so open bracket and close bracket, which is up to here, right? So it means that if it's a member, so we'll process inside this one. Okay. So if it's a member, so we ask the age of the customer, which is if it's under 18, then the entrance fee is half of the fee. But if it's 18 or older, then the price is 80% of the full fee, means that they will have 20% of discount. Okay. But if this condition will not met, which is under 18 or 80 older, so the entrance will be full fee. Okay. So means that it's saying that if the statement, okay, so if the customer is member, so we will consider the age to get the price discount, whether 50% or 20% based on the age. But if the statement if the condition is not met, which is the customer is not a member, all right, so the outer layer is not met, So straight away they will go outside, which is saying that the entrance fee is a full fee, which is not a single discount. Okay, all right. All right, this is how we design the nested if statement based on the previous example, which is whether the user is a member or not. All right, so look at this case. Okay, we say that if the user is a member. Okay, so if the user meet this condition, so we'll go for the following one, which is we check the age, whether it's below 18 or not. So if the age is below 18, so you will get 50% of discount, which is you only pay 50% from the original fee. Meanwhile, if the age is more or equal to 18, so you only pay 80%, which is 20% discount. Okay, so if this one only happen if the user is a member. If not, they will go outside here, which is full fee. Okay, what is the difference between this one? Okay, so for this code, okay, this is different, which is what you're saying that if the user is member, okay, that's true. So the age, and then we check for the age, which is 18. All right. So if it's 18, so the price is 50%. Okay. So then, but if not, so more than 18, the price is only 80%. The the difference between this one and this one is that you see that this statement should be inside this bracket. Okay, so should be straight after this bracket. So this statement will be in between this one and this one, like this one. So if it's written like this one, it's different. So it's not giving the same output as this one. Okay, so which saying that because if you're a member, they will process between this line up to this line. Okay, so this will not be processed.